Ken! Yeah. Singing and hearing words of wisdom, let it be in the wisdom factory.
She sings, yeah. Hello and welcome to the Wisdom Factory, a forum for open-minded people like you and us who have knowledge and experience and wisdom to share with the world. I'm Mark Davenport, and
I'm Heidi Hörnlein.
All right. And our topics in this series have covered many areas of human experience. We like to invite people who not only have interesting things to say about their own topics in their lives, but who also have an evolved perspective on themselves and what they're doing. So these are people who feel inspired to contribute to the creation of a better world by helping people gain a better understanding and perspective on what is happening, both in the world and in their own lives, and what they can contribute to the resolution of the many problems we are facing at this moment in our history.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you are watching today the 16th episode of our Wisdom Factory show, and which is called Art and Music à la Integrale. And our guests are Scott Marshall and David Long.
Mm-hmm.
But before we talk a little bit more about that, we can introduce ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have created this series because we want to bring out into the world our knowledge and our experience, which we have learned in quite a bit of a long
many
life.
decades, yes.
And many things who have opened our vision of the world and what it is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mainly because we were attracted by integral theory, and this is several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
For me, about 20 years ago, for you a little bit shorter.
Yes.
But it was a moment when understanding came. And we want to give you the opportunity to have a little bit of a glimpse of that. Professionally, we are counselors and coaches, especially for creating thriving relationships.
Like
we do.
Yeah.
And we run a cultural association, a retreat and a guest house. This is called Paradiso Integrale, which you find here when you look on the event page. And this place is in Umbria in Italy. And you are very welcome to stop by and come and see us.
And that is where we're broadcasting from today. Yeah.
Yes. And before we go to the music part, I want to say today is a special day because we are ending the first series of our Wisdom Factory, and the second series will begin in 6th of March. So today is Celebration Day, and what is better for that than art and music? And with that, I give over to the music.
Oh,
Scott. Give us a little bit.
Okay, let me just make an adjustment.
Yes. Right. And we mute.
Okay. Get the guitar here. Okay. So this is a song called Moses Coffee. Cup of coffee Moses made was the same that Abraham drank. Gave to me upon bended knee. Was the same when he fell asleep. Well, the sun refused to shine. And those daughters of the divine, they drank from the vine, from the vine. Cup of coffee Moses made. His beard was long and gray and stuff. Long hours of talking over stuff. cup of coffee Moses made. Well, the sun refused to shine, and those daughters were drunk on wine. They straightened out and they flew right. They flew right. They flew right, and now I know. And now I know. And now I know. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much,
yes.
Scott.
God,
This
that was
very
nice.
nice.
Oh,
And I want
Thank
to
you.
ask our watchers if they have noticed that the lower third with the name of Scott has some similarity with ours.
mhm.
And this is not by chance.
And maybe what's behind us here.
It's behind us.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure,
come on.
too. Because we want to
Sure.
say that Scott has created our colors for the Wisdom Factory. And we are very, very grateful. When he heard about this project we were having, he said, oh, how can I collaborate? And I loved his colors. And so we are so fortunate to have it.
Yep, we are indeed.
So, first question.
Well, that was really nice, Scott. And
Thank you.
I could see, you know, there was more than a literal line in there. There was something behind what you were saying.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Integrale.
Let us first ask him how come that he is a musician and he is an artist.
Yeah.
Maybe we start
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Well, I kind of was born that way, I'd say, as an artist. Somebody that it just kind of runs in the blood, you could say, too. My grandfather is an artist, and so I'm an artist. And sometimes, you know, it's amazing how things happen like that. But for me, it really started to shine when I was about 8 years old, and then I had an art teacher that kind of saw that in me, and then because of that, then I decided that that was really kind of my identity for a long time, and still is. So I haven't really given up on it. I've always been making art, and there was a time, you know, where you get wounded as an artist, but you start to kind of heal and move through that stuff, and in terms of music, I started out as a drummer. So, well, even before then it was piano back when I was little, but drummer in high school, and played a lot of rock and roll bands, ska, punk bands, playing a lot of drums. So I just taken up the guitar not that long ago, and I enjoy belting out some songs on that. Yeah.
And the visual art that you got into, you have a history with that too?
That's right. So I feel that I'm a stronger visual artist, and you know, I went to college for art, and I got a degree in art studio with a painting kind of focus, and you know, was certified to teach art. I work in special education, so I get a whole creative aspect of my being that I use there. But visual art all throughout. Love to paint, love to draw. I see things compositionally. I see the world that way, and it all started to come together that there's a certain style that's forming, and since I've learned, studied more philosophy and done a lot of meditation, gotten into integral theory, I feel like I'm a more cohesive representation of myself, and therefore that particular aspect of me comes out more in art, and even more so these days. So yeah.
Thank you.
Well, great. And what I'm noticing as you're speaking here is that you have a very kind of grounded way of presenting yourself that is very calming, reassuring, and authentic. like
Well,
that.
thank you, Mark. That's very. You're a sweet guy.
That's what I'm good at.
Fishing for compliments. Let's go to David. He's sitting down here so alone.
So patiently.
What kind of nice things you got to say about me? I'm pretty nice.
Yeah, tell us about you and your art too.
Then we can say some nice things then. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I liked his answer about being born an artist. I think that everybody is born an artist, and society kind of pounds it out of us, or it's also something that is nurtured, you know. So I think it's something that's developed. I started when I was really young. I think it starts when you know, are drawing or coloring or something, and you go and you show your mommy or your daddy, and they're like, "That's good. Keep doing that," you know, and you do. And I never stopped. I know that society has this way of telling people things like, "Oh, that's not realistic," or "That's not a good way to make money," and that bit may be true, you know, but money is a means in itself, not an end. And I would like to think that art and self-expression is really an important part of being human. And understanding theory, you know, the more understanding you have, the more that affects your control. And so, you know, your art changes over time as you grow and evolve. What was the question?
Do you say some nice things to him?
Do I say some nice things about you first? You know, what I really enjoy about you, David, is that you go right for the hard stuff, the deep stuff, you know, that you are ready to dive in and parse this whole business out, you know, and turn it into words. You know, you may be talking about visual art, you may be talking about your music, but when you talk about it, you have a vocabulary and a determination to take it apart and analyze it and see what you're doing, and to be able to tell what other people are doing also. And it's a priceless gift. Do appreciate that.
Man, you are a very sweet guy. You do have...
But the audience can see that we know you already. We have done already shows together and collaborated. There is a comment from Nassim, and he asks you, where are Scott and David located? Would you like to answer to that?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I'll go first. I'm in a town called Rumney, New Hampshire, which is here in the Northeast.
And you
USA,
go back and forth.
USA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm located in an undisclosed location, coming to you as a digital hologram in the interwebs. No, I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas right now.
Okay.
Okay, so I know you have prepared, David, something, but you don't sing, you said, because for various reasons, but you have the text of a song and you want to present it to us. Would you like to do that in this moment?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I'm just gonna do a spoken word version of one of my songs. This song is called "With Your Time." It's off of my album, "The Outer Regions of Inner Space," and it goes like this. Behold the moon. It reflects the sun. It's always shifting in its phases. In the darkest night, illuminating paths, reflecting on the water as it blazes. Shed your shadow and be born again, like the self-eating serpent that sheds its skin. Learn lessons from the moon. Embrace the feminine. You should understand why we feel this connection. We rise each day because the sun's resurrection, it's just too bright to see. So we worship its reflection naturally, realizing our vision actually, from fantasy to factually. We simply use causality to create a new reality. It's all about your mentality, morality from a perspective beyond mortality. Stop worshiping that fallacy, universal commonality. Dispense with the formalities. You could never have neutrality or forget about practicality. It's all about what you do. And what do you do with your time? I'm moving people up the spiral dynamically, applying this integral philosophy, logic and theosophy, cartography of human possibility, flexibility of the body and mind as a useful tool for I amness in time. Yeah, I'm the divine. If you seek, then you'll find. I am the living truth behind your symbols and signs. I am every light in every lifetime. I am infinite, eternal. Go ahead and rewind. This is my message in a bottle. Send it out to the planet. The future's in our making, so let's sit down and plan it. I am it. Create a better future so that we can all stand it. Balance out the bullshit and together, goddammit. We could do it. Has to do with understanding how to prove it. Take it to the people and create a revolutionary movement. To the middle, if life's a riddle, tiny dancer, this is the answer to our cancer. We can escape the us and them of nationalism by establishing unity, compassion, and rationalism. What do you do with your time? Well, I'm giving you a method. You should listen, go apply it. Research it for yourself, the peer review process. Try it. You might just find it works for you. Move from the middle. That's what you do. First, we find the opposites. The opposites attract. Define themselves in opposition. We need to step back. Divisions of four may help with that. And now we see a cycle. Let's look at some facts. Pros and cons on all sides is what we find. We weigh the short-term and long-term possibilities in our mind. From this point of understanding, we can take control, do what we must do to accomplish our goals, not just for me, but for the whole. Balance the universal mind, body, and soul by taking control of the part that you play. Wake up and do that shit every day. This is the new Tao, yo, this is the new way. You are what you do and you are what you say, so please be responsible for the part that you play. Okay?
Wow.
Wow, that was great.
Wagnerian in
That
its
was great.
scope. Wonderful.
I had a little bit of a problem to really understand. It was very quick, and I would really appreciate if after the show you would copy and paste this in the comment stream.
Yeah.
Oh, the lyric?
Nice.
Yeah. The lyrics.
Also yours, Scott, would be nice so that we can hear the text. Because this leads us a little bit into Integral.
Yeah.
Why
it does.
is your music integral or your art integral? What is the difference? What is that? What does it mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to play the person who asks the dumb questions here, because I have a background in art history. I can go back and I can tell you what century things were printed, painted in, etc. And I really enjoy that. I see it in buildings, I see it in statues and painting and so on, and I can do it with music too. And then I get to a point about 10 years ago, and I started seeing integral stuff, and I said, I don't understand that. What's this? What's going on here that I don't quite get, What is it that I didn't quite get, even though I could go through all this history of art, and appreciate the art. Who would like to enlighten me? Yeah. Don't all talk at once.
I'll go first.
Go first, Scott.
I'll go first. Dave.
I'm ready to jump right in the deep end, but
Right.
How about this, man? I'll carve it out and then you do the details, all right?
all right.
How's that sound?
Start the carving, man.
Yeah, I'll carve it. I think that, well, fundamentally the whole thing of integral or the Aquil theory is development. So everybody develops through stages. Everybody starts out at square one. So if you apply development to art, that's what you'll see. So you'll see in art people who have gone through different levels. So for example, art can be there's different modes of art. You can have tribal art, you can have mythic art, you can have modern art or rational art, and you can have postmodern art. And that's really what you'll see is those four. So you got you got early art, you got the mythic art that you might see at church. You've got art that you'll see that really kind of swept the world. was the first kind of art that really transformed the world, rational art from the modern world. And then you have postmodern art.
Excuse me, can you give an example here too?
Yeah. What would be tribal art? What would be something we know?
Oh, from tribal art? Oh, maybe some aspects of that you might see nowadays. You might see. I'm just thinking cave art comes to mind for me. Cave art that you might see in ancient painting, things like that. In today's world, maybe you'd see it a little bit as graffiti, but there's some artists that I don't think apply as tribal artists that are graffiti artists. But so
that is, it seems. If you don't mind me interrupting,
go ahead.
It seems like there might be like a cultural style that can happen at a certain general altitude, but then like a person might take on that style from their perspective, and it's not necessarily that they're at the altitude of the style, there's something that speaks about that style to them from whatever perspective they're coming at it, you know. Like Picasso might be doing some like cultural deconstructive kind of stuff with cubism and like taking these different perspectives, and someone like Pollock might be in that same kind of postmodernist art, but he might not be a postmodernist himself. He might be doing it for other reasons.
Yeah, I like the way you put it, David. That's very good. So I'll see if I can footnote it, and then you can go ahead more, David, if you'd like. I think that when you get all of a sudden after postmodern art, there's been a lot of confusion as to maybe what art is these days or what makes something integral art. And in terms of development, an integral artist is someone who essentially understands the value of all of the other levels of development that had come before. So that's fundamentally speaking what an integral person or an integral artist would see is the truth and partiality of every particular artistic mode there is. That doesn't mean that he or she is throwing all kinds of stuff on a canvas and saying that that's integral art because it includes all the former aspects. It might, which would be very painstaking, but it would have the art object made by that person would have that person's particular understanding in somehow as imbued in the art objects. Sounds kind of magical.
Can I ask something? Would it be when you are an integral artist, you would appreciate the artists of the other levels, the modern art you would appreciate, you might not like it, but appreciate it for what it is, and the tribal art or also the mythic art, the church art, I mean here in Italy it's all full of this art form, you would appreciate it as that what it is, and not say, oh, this person is painting horribly and this is nothing. An integralist would recognize the value of what he or she sees. Is it so?
I think absolutely. And I would say that they would play with those themes to some extent too. Like I know that I've kind of, I think a lot of what my style is somewhat abstract, and yet, I also have this one portrait painting I have where I'm kind of using some of the color schemes of traditional art, like the golds and the blues that you would see to kind of imbue some of the meaning that those religious pieces would have had into this other piece. So I definitely think that they resonate. For me, I think what integral art is about is a lot expressing a transpersonal kind of perspective. If you are like if you're listening to the lyrics, you almost want to wonder, like, where is this coming from? Like, what are the values behind this? And also I've noticed that in my art, my hip hop persona or whatever, and my idea going into it was to speak from the perspective of I amness. So to make music from this ultimate perspective, you know, through my eyes, to let that, you know, that God voice within me speak, and to create these kind of anthems, and even like sort of repurposing old school mantras and things like that. You know, like this little light of mine, and all is impermanent, and things like that, and try to repurpose them in kind of a cool contemporary way. I'm always tempted to say the word modern, you know, because I mean like it's like up to date, but I guess contemporary is the word I'm gonna use to describe that, because we don't want to confuse it with the modern stage of development. But the other thing, I think, is like what Scott is saying about, in the same way that as we grow and as we learn, we take on the lessons of the previous stages. We transcend and include. I would say that when an integralist makes art, he makes it with his whole self, with, you know, like all the way up the Maslow's spiral of needs or whatever. From all of those drives, he makes it from his instinctive drive. He uses his heart. He engages with his rationality, and you know, he brings all of these things to the table. And the other thing is, like with like in terms of big mind or something like that, the ability to bring all of these voices online and to start to have a conversation with them. Like I notice that when I make a song, sometimes I'll start from like some lower chakras and bring in like the heart space, and talk about, you know, my pain and my worry and these things, and then I'll bring in some higher perspectives, and I'll put those perspectives in perspective. So I'm really creating a space for the listener to be able to step in and bring their own things that would resonate with what I'm bringing. So I'm, in a sense, like not just talking about David and what I like, but I'm creating this conversation about what's happening from this particular view. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I like that, David. Very well said. I wanted to like also comment to how important states of consciousness are. So you have, you know, in integral theory, there's roughly 3 or 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, dreamless, deep dreamless sleep, and some kind of witnessing, and then maybe even a non-dual stage after that. So when an artist is making their art, especially someone who's integrally informed, also understands how important the states of consciousness are in informing the art. For example, subtle realms, or the subtle body, or the dream state, very important for artists, you know, all throughout history, as a way to envision or vision or project or show imagery that come from a vast realm of imaginative whatever it could be. People that could be part animal, people that could be, that, you know, different, what your power animal might be. but different aspects of energy, different aspects of how things feel, and especially with an altered state. So if an artist is familiar with navigating different states of consciousness, usually they are, and they want to put that in their art, then an integral art would have all of that. You know, would have somebody who, what they're doing, when you look at their creation, that you will get a hit from. You will get a download, so to speak, from that artist, where their mind, their consciousness was at when they created that piece. You know, so not only their development, but their state comes through. You know.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So like Alex Gray or something like that, where you look at his work and you don't just see like the a simple kind of objective reality, but you see a heightened, more complete perspective of reality. And we, add in the things or the elements that we see that maybe the average person doesn't see in hopes to expand their sight. I think that's where you're going with that, and also using some of this imagery and stuff that is not just purely literal, like real-world imagery. It could be surreal or whatever. I like this kind of idea, and I was thinking about your fractal art, and I was thinking about my art too, and I was trying to think about these commonalities. And one of the things I was thinking about is there's this kind of a combination or a hybridization of like organic forms and theoretical forms and sacred imagery. And and I think like a fractal does that, because fractals are organic, but it's also a theoretical way of talking about, you know, the holons and the different levels of reality, which helps us to gain some kind of perspective, and that's, you know, usually being able to have some kind of image that represents reality and gives you some kind of bigger perspective is usually seen as some kind of a sacred symbol. So I think there's a lot of common ground there.
I want to tell the listeners that you are both also philosophers, so you have a sort of language that maybe not everybody gets at the first moment. And you want to say something?
Yes, as I was listening to this, I was starting to think, my goodness, you know, throwing all this stuff onto a canvas, for example, that would be a Wagnerian nightmare without some kind of discipline, you know, to choose and pick and sort and use very consciously these different elements. And of course you can't use all the elements at once. But it does sound, you know, I'm putting myself in the position of someone who's hearing about integral art for the first moment. So, you know, how does this get displayed, for example, on a canvas?
Let us ask David, before you showed us the window, could you show us to the listeners, watchers? I mean, we already see your art behind you.
Yeah, I got some back here. This is a window that I found. I'm a poor artist, because so I like to find things like windows and things that I can paint on. Trying to see if I can find a position that doesn't have too much glare. But this is a window that I painted on, and I painted on the back of it, the background, and then some foreground elements as well. And kind of what I'm trying to do with a lot of my art is to kind of give a new way of conceptualizing individuals and their environment and how they relate to each other. So kind of I'm sort of doing a fractal kind of thing too, where I'm zooming down a layer, you know, like looking at trying to think about cells and, you know, biological environments and things like that, and maybe to think about humans in a more you know, big picture kind of scope. So each one of these cells represents a sort of a flux of a being at a particular point in time. If you notice, these cells are slightly more evolved than these cells. They might be somewhat comparable, but some of my cells are more green, and these ones are more yellow and turquoise, and a lot of these colors correlate to the theoretical aspects of like spiral dynamics, which has to do with human development and whatnot. So, you know, in this same kind of way, I guess I'm trying to get you to rethink about how you see people and the world around you.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a common theme, I think, in integral art.
Yeah.
There's some purpose to it.
Yeah, just trying to get you to take a bigger picture perspective and to see yourself and your environment, you know, in that kind of a way, I think is one of the main motivations behind it.
That's wonderful. And I would like, Scott, if you would prepare your
Sure.
screen share for your pictures. And I know you have prepared a document with several pictures which are sort of documenting the last 4 years of your visual artist life.
Yes. Yes. Here we go. And I hit the button. Is that coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I like what David's been saying, and also if people that are watching want to ask questions by typing in, right, Heidi? They can just type in questions.
Yes. There is something I would just bring up from Rain.
Yeah.
She says, just a minute, I bring it up. I love the colors and shapes in this piece of art. It is still for David, but I think she will have to say something for you too in a little while. So go ahead.
Fantastic. This is a picture of a actual analog canvas. So I've been kind of doing actual, real, in the three-dimensional world, art for a while, and you can see I'm kind of transitioning to digital art, but I haven't quite got there yet. This piece is called a breakthrough, and I've had several breakthrough pieces, and you can see kind of elements from postmodernism. I'm really trying to figure out the line. I'm really trying to figure out how color should go. And I've come into integral theory, and I'm seeing how things fit together, but it's not quite there yet. It wants to be a fractal, but it's not a fractal. And so here it is, a bigger version of it. And this is sort of like different opposing forces, good and evil versus some kind of not two approach where it holds both. And they're drippy, melty. I like psychedelic art. I'm interested in how things can kind of merge into something else while remain their own specific thing. Here's one. It's supposed to be a still life, and it's turned into more of a study of line and how that feels. And here we are, and I'm starting to get that fractal feel where things have smaller parts and they have more of a direct relationship with everything else on the actual piece, rather than just being put on there. So this is probably just 2 years ago, this piece. So then I go into using the iPad for some digital art, and this piece is called "You Are Here," and there's a obvious arrow, but the whole movement of energy is something that I'm starting to get really interested in how energy can be shown visually, almost like a pebble in a pond, or in this case a small little frog face in a pond, or just just these elements that I want people to begin to resonate on the inside, a state that I'm feeling at the time of stillness or separateness. And also, how things are kind of flowing together, integrating. I'm not quite there yet. And then I had a major shift. This is, of course, Leonard Nimoy. I had a major shift last spring where all of a sudden it was like a lightning bolt hit me, and I felt, gosh, I can be like the integral Andy Warhol and make all these portraits of people. And so this is one of them, and some people call this the neon style. I like the neon fractal portrait style. And of course there's no fractals in this yet. This is just line and the boundary of the person with splotching, and I get that postmodern Jackson Pollock feel even though it's digital. So that marks a change. And then come the fractals. So here's a fractal piece that's created three-dimensionally in the computer. And I began to fall in love and nerd out over 3D fractals, backflipping over fractals. I just keep making these every day. I make usually 5 or 6 of these kinds of things every day. And these are about composition and finding texture and finding depth, because they can really give a feel to a piece that's, like, say, a portrait, you know, of somebody. They could get a backdrop of them. Here's a better. This is a piece called Spiral Dynamics. So this is kind of like that idea of evolution in a whirlwind, tour de force, acid paper. Let's go on this free ride, man, and see what this looks like. So that's that. And this is a piece I did for the school I work at. This is printed very large for them to hang. And this is the playground, and overlaid is a fractal. And I actually photographed a rainbow. It's not a double rainbow. It's just a regular rainbow. And it's about line also. It's about how the sky and the trees meet within this kind of complex holographic network, the energy related to how the fractal can show that, or give that feel of that holographic feel. And then Mr. Corey DeVos asked me to do a portrait of his daughter, and for Mother's Day, and there it is. That's Evelyn, and she's a liver transplant survivor. So I just got this big, warm, gushy love vibe. So I decided to make this particular version of that, and I like it. I think that this is successful in color. One of the more successful. I make a lot of these, you know. This is Mr. Mark Davenport, and there he is, post-European conference, Mark. So he's got the download there up on the chin, right up on that nose, all the way in the back in the brain case. Look at the download Mark got. And of course, this is including the fractal subtle energy feel. So this is one of my more successful photo. So I take the photograph and I almost do kind of like a tracing part, and then it's like my style of my pen work, and you get really good. It's like he's the good profile shot here, side view. Here we have Heidi, and this is. I'm starting to develop newer techniques with the fractals and finding different programs that give different effects, or iterations, as I call them, iterations. And so here is, of course, the laser line style, but with the added depth or the subtle energy feel of a person. So you get this essence of the person, and you get their overall totality at that moment, in that moment, as best as I can deliver. So there's Heidi. So, and this is a representation of a universe, or the dropless drop, or the infinite I amness, suchness, isness of experience, done using fractal imagery, three-dimensional. And I think it's pretty good use of the technology, because this is going to inform some good pieces later on. And here we have an integral elite. So what I like about this piece is that there's not a lot of line work done. I didn't do a lot of line work, but I really focused a lot on the background here. And there, if you can look closely, there is three-dimensional fractal work. Looks like a kind of a building structure, because you know, whenever I listen to the Daily Evolver, I kind of get this feel like, you know, he's really trying to give us the structure to the news, and he's doing the best that he can. He's a Boulder, Colorado, coming at you here. And then here's, of course, my Ken Wilber piece, which I was very happy that reached his computer through some integral connections there. This wound up on into his email, and he said that he liked it, and that kind of like made, if I died tomorrow, that would make me feel the best, because I'm such a fanboy of Ken Wilber. And here you have, of course, the three-dimensional fractal combined with some of the more ethereal fractal imagery that I've been able to, and some minimal line work, because Ken's kind of at this suchness level, and his state of consciousness is really imposing as it's coming through, and yet soft, you know. And it's finding the right colors that work, that show him as he is when that photograph is taken, and give that perfect feel. I feel when I look at this one, this is one of my most successful ones. And here's Corey himself, and this is Corey DeVos. And moving along, this is Jeremy Johnson, and this is the last one, and this is a piece that I did called Layers of Consciousness. So this is kind of like a combination of all the things I've done up to this point, including using some different layering effects. So there you go.
Thank you. Oh. Thank you very much. There is Wayne, and she was commenting on something you did before. A fascinating journey, and the energy in your pieces is amazing. I mean, this is all the time. Then the holographic effect in the piece you did for the school really exposes the unseen within the scene.
Yes, a motif that you should see in integral art.
Yeah.
Oh. Wonderful. We very near our time, but I want to give David the possibility to show his screen share and talk a little bit about this, and then comes the celebration part and the last music part.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Let's see. So are we seeing that? Let's see. Let's go to the top. So this first piece that you see here is you can see that it's on kind of a red background. I painted this for a friend of mine, knowing that he was going to put it on his red wall. And for me, this was like the beginning of my Cells in Flux series, which is the name of this series that I'm doing, because I was really interested in the way that the colors affected each other. Like, so I almost did like these stacking, this piling kind of thing of these different cells, and like when I was going through with my brush, I was connecting different colors in different areas, so that way it was almost like in the way that societies or in social situations, different people have an effect on each other, and I was really thinking about that, and that was what really got me started thinking about some of these ideas. This is one of my newer pieces, and this is exploring some more of the abstract style. My style, I think it really started out being about trying to find a balance point between sort of chaos, but also like hard lines, and getting the right color balance, so that way certain things pop and it gives sort of a 3D kind of an effect. To get the right kind of darkness and light, so it's not just like, you know, a bunch of colors exploding at you, but it has like the depth in it, so that way the colors pop. This is another one of my early ones that I like a lot. One of the things I like about it is that it's got kind of a grid behind it, so I feel like it's really starting to do a good combination of this theoretical, sacred, and organic kind of combination. Somebody was telling me that they thought that the lines and stuff that you see on the side, on the right over here, kind of look like a rib cage or something, and I like that idea. So this is a theme that I've been exploring a lot lately, and I'm trying to get a bunch of work done in the area, get a bunch of variations on the theme, and then I'm going to have a giant show. I'm selling prints and scans, and you can get a lot of this stuff on Society 6. Like, you can get this as your shower curtain, or like as a rug, or as your phone case, or something like that. And I have links to all that stuff on my website. But yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful, and to have named your website and use David, Scott, you don't have it here on your lower third. Would you name it? Would you say what your website is, Scott?
Oh yeah, I have a blog that I don't have a big operation where I sell stuff yet, but I have a blog where people can look at my work called scottmarshallart.org, I think it's called. It's blogspot.com. scottmarshallart@blogspot.com.
And you are also both present on Facebook, and I really would appreciate if you would be more present on Google Plus and present yourself with these wonderful things. And I hope slowly I get you there.
Oh, yeah.
We have already done these shows, and this, now we come to the celebration part.
Celebrate?
Yes.
Wow, that's the best part.
Yeah, and we have to announce that this is the last show for a while, but we won't stop. We will offer how did we call that? A wisdom chat.
A wisdom chat.
A wisdom
That's
chat,
right.
where we don't invite special people, but where we talk between us or other normal people who don't teach something to you, but who try together with us to explore things which they have learned and which they have questions. So you might also, the watchers, you might be interested in jumping in, connect with us, and be part of this chat. So let us know, and we will maybe every week, but at least in a certain amount, until we restart with a second season in the 6th of May. And the second season probably meant, this is Italian, probably will have the overall title Wisdom Technologies.
Yeah.
So, and now is the time before we hear, Scott, you can prepare, and before we hear the music, we celebrate the show, the Wisdom Factory. And thank you, everybody, for having been our guests and our audience. Will you do that?
I certainly will.
And then you have to give something to Scott and to David, too.
How am I going to do that?
And to all our watchers. I see Rain. Rain, did you prepare your glass?
There we go.
All right.
Something Pinot Chardonnay.
Pinot Chardonnay. Okay. This is for you. Me.
And I've got a little for me. And I'm just split.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers, and thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks so much, you guys, for having this great show. I'm so glad to be a part of it.
Oh.
And so glad that you came.
Yes, really.
And
thank you, David.
Thank you, Scott.
I wanted to thank David for a nice chat with him and a nice chat with you guys, Mark and Heidi. We'll play a little song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you tell us the name and?
Sure. This song is called Om. Okay.
Did you think about the studio mode?
Yes, I did. Let me just check it. There we go. Okay.
Okay,
Fantastic.
and we can see you hopefully while you play.
Yes, let me.
Yeah, it's okay.
There we go. That's good.
Try to get real close to the guitar.
Now, can you put the camera just a little higher?
There we go.
Okay.
How's that?
Good. Better.
Okay. Take all day just to slow me down. I have a garden with the roses all around. It's a show I want you to know. Fantastic ways and the cosmic undertone. What are you clinging on to? Yes, the stars are always shining. Gonna pleasure and see the signs. All the ducks are lined up in a row. Say it's a love that you love. Yeah, and it sings to you like those burning, burning doves. Fantastic way. Yes, the stars are always shining.
Ooh, wonderful, and thank you so much, and
Thank you, guys.
bye,
Thank you.
everybody.